You know that feeling, right? You're in a situation you're not quite sure what to do, and your first thought is, okay, what's everyone else doing? That single question, that instinct, is the key to this massive, invisible force that shapes so much of our lives. It's called social proof, and we're about to figure out why we are so hardwired to follow the crowd.
So, here's what we've got on tap. We're going to kick things off with a pretty wild experiment, then get into the brain science behind it all. After that, we'll see how this plays out in the real world, your world. And then, the good stuff, 2 tools you can actually use to think for yourself. Finally, we'll see how being an independent thinker can, surprisingly, make the whole group stronger.
All right, first up, the conformity question. This really gets to the heart of it, right? Why on earth do we sometimes agree with things that we know are just plain wrong? Okay, take a look at this super simple vision test. Which line on the right, A, B, or C, matches the line on the left? The answer's C, right? I mean, it's not a trick question. It's obviously C. But what if you were in a room and every single person before you, one by one, confidently said the answer was B? What would you do?
Well, that's the exact setup for a famous experiment by psychologist Solomon Asch way back in 1951. He put one real, unsuspecting person in a room full of actors, and these actors were all told to pick the wrong line. The pressure just builds and builds. So the big question is, do you trust what you see with your own 2 eyes, or do you cave and go along with the group?
The results? They were absolutely mind-blowing. A staggering 37% of the time, the real participant went along with the group's completely wrong answer. And get this, it wasn't because they were confused. When interviewed later, many admitted they knew the answer was wrong. They were just conforming. They literally chose fitting in over what was obviously true. And if you think that's wild, listen to this. A full 75%, 3/4 of all participants, conformed at least one time. That just tells you everything, doesn't it? It's not just that we're afraid of being wrong. What we're really, truly afraid of is being the only one who's right. So what is going on here? Why is this urge to conform so powerful? Well, it's not some kind of personal weakness. It's actually a feature, not a bug, baked into our evolutionary software. Let's unpack the psychology behind this ancient survival shortcut our brain loves to take. And this instinct has a name: social proof. You got to remember, for almost all of human history, we lived in tribes. If everyone in your tribe suddenly started running, you didn't stop and ask why. You ran. If they avoided certain berries, you avoided them too. Sticking with the group literally meant survival. So our brains evolved to treat what a group does as a life-saving instruction manual. It's a quick, efficient shortcut. Think of social proof as having 2 big engines pushing it forward. The first engine is uncertainty. When we're not sure what to do, our brain just assumes, hey, they probably know something I don't. The second engine is our deep, deep need for belonging. We are social creatures, and being rejected by the group is terrifying to our ancient brain. So we conform to be liked and accepted. And when both of those engines fire up at once, when you're uncertain and you want to fit in, that's when conformity becomes almost impossible to resist. And we can go even one level deeper here. There's this idea called uncertainty identity theory, which basically says our brains absolutely hate feeling unsure about who we are and how we're supposed to act. It's an anxious feeling. A group offers a solution. It hands you a clear identity, a kind of social script or uniform. Here's how we act, here's what we believe. Adopting that is just the quickest way for our brains to calm that anxiety and feel like we know our place in the world. Okay, so enough with the old experiments and theories. Let's make this real. This force is pulling the strings on your decisions every single day, often without you even realizing it. Let's look at a few places where social proof is shaping your world right now. I bet some of these will sound very familiar. All right, let's talk online shopping. You're looking for a new blender. One has 8,000 reviews and a 4.9-star rating. Are you going to read all 8,000 reviews? No way. You see that number and your brain's ancient shortcut kicks in. It just goes, wow, 8,000 people agree this is good. They can't all be wrong. That star rating is the 21st century version of your tribe saying, yep, this berry is safe to eat. It just silences that little voice of anxiety. Or how about viral trends on TikTok or Instagram? You see one video with a certain jacket, then another, then 10 more. Before you know it, the sheer volume of it creates this powerful illusion that everyone has this jacket. Your brain literally stops thinking, oh, a few influencers are wearing that, and switches to, this is just what people wear now. Just like that, a new norm is created out of thin air. And this stuff follows you right into the office, or, your home office. Picture this. A big presentation ends on Zoom. There's that Awkward silence. Then one person hits the little clapping hands emoji. And what happens next? Boom, 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 a waterfall of clapping emojis. Why? Because in that moment, our need to show I'm part of the team, I belong, is way stronger than any logical thought about whether a digital clap makes sense. We're just copying the norm to signal we're in. Okay, so we get it. We're wired to conform. So what do we do about it? How do we fight back against our own brain? Well, the goal here isn't to go live in a cave and reject society. It's about learning to be intentional. So let's get practical. Here are two simple but powerful tools you can use to start thinking for yourself. Tool number one is what I call the pause and verify protocol. It's super simple. Step one, pause. When you feel that emotional tug, that urge to jump on the bandwagon, just stop. Insert a little mental speed bump between the impulse and the action. Step two, ask a couple of key questions. Is this thing actually good, or is it just popular? Do I want this, or am I just feeling like the crowd wants it for me? And step three, verify. Don't just stay on the website or article that's convincing you. Do what professional fact-checkers do. It's called lateral reading. Just open a new tab and Google it. See what other independent people are saying. It's a game changer. All right, tool number two is the values filter. Think of this as your personal true north, your internal compass. Step one is to actually define what's on that compass. What are your core non-negotiable values? Maybe it's honesty or creativity or kindness. Just pick a few. Step two, before you act, filter the decision through those values. Ask yourself, does doing this, buying this, believing this, does it line up with who I really am and who I want to become? And then step three is to act. If it's a yes, then great, join in intentionally. If it's a no, you can opt out with confidence. This is how you make sure your actions are driven by your principles, not by peer pressure. So this all leads us to a really important final idea. Thinking for yourself isn't about being contrarian just for the sake of it or rejecting everyone around you. It's actually about strengthening the group. It's about learning to participate in a way that's smarter, more thoughtful, and ultimately more helpful for everyone. You know, there's a ton of research on what's called minority influence, and it shows that just one person speaking up consistently and confidently can totally change a group's dynamic for the better. That one dissenter forces everyone else to hit the brakes, to rethink their own assumptions, and to really dig deeper. And here's the most powerful part. When you frame your disagreement as an act of loyalty, when you say, look, I'm pushing back on this because I want us to make the best possible decision, that's when you can lead the entire group to a much, much better place. So, when you boil it all down, it really comes to this. Social proof is a shortcut our brain uses. Self-trust is a skill you can build. Belonging to a group is a wonderful benefit. But blind conformity, that has a real cost. And the best part is, you get to choose which one guides you. So I'll leave you with this one last question to think about. The next time you feel that pull, that powerful gravity of the crowd moving in one direction, are you just going to follow? Or are you going to be the one who chooses to think first?